I'm Jeff.
I'm Alex.
And that's Jameson. So today's July 13th, and the reason we're shooting this video is today Harley Davidson dropped Evolution to Revolution. Well, if you haven't gone and watched the video, Harley released, it was about 15 minutes. It was a 15-minute video from them explaining the new Sportster they're coming out with. They're calling it the 1200S. So, I owned a Sportster back in the day. He owned a Sportster back in the day. We actually have a little notebook here with a bunch of information that we're going to go over about this bike. But first and foremost, I am very, very disappointed in Harley. And I'm just going to throw it right out there, and I'm probably going to catch some shit for it. Before any more is said, I have ridden the new Softails. I do think they ride really well. However, I think that they could have kept with the Dyna platform and the whole having twin rear shocks and beefed up the frame a little bit. Now, I don't own a business. I understand it from their standpoint. Instead of two frames, one frame, bleh, and make it easier. So, if you don't know, a couple months ago they announced they're releasing the Pan America, which is this on-off-road, I don't know, what would you call it?
I would call it an enduro sport bike, most likely, yes. Crossover. It's a crossover.
It's a crossover. I like that. It's a crossover.
I mean, it overheated in there in Veiling, so
this is true too.
It blew up.
So here's kind of what we want to say, is with the new bike that dropped, they've only released the 1200S. Now, I don't know if this is going to go across the lineup. My assumption, as of today, is that it is going to be, going forward, all Sportster models will now have a mono rear shock. Now, Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, KTM, Aprilia, Ducati, all the sport bike manufacturers for years have run a monoshock rear end. That works really well for them, especially on the track. I've ridden a handful of sport bikes, I know you have. But personally, they're a sport bike. They're what they are. Harleys, I'm not going to say haven't ever been a sport bike, but I kind of feel like Harley might have lost its way a little bit. Now, so like I previously stated, the 1200S, I don't know if they're doing it for just this one model or if they're carrying it across the Sportster lineup. I'm 30, Alex is 27? 27. And what really pisses us off is that Harley says that our generation, millennials, are not buying Harleys. I can sure as shit vouch that 95% of my friends that ride Harleys, we all ride baggers. There's a handful of people I know that aren't into the bagger world. One of them was my buddy Rob, who bought my Dyna. But the way that bike was set up, you could run cross country. So Harley kind of coming out saying, oh, millennials aren't buying bikes. Well, that's a story for another video. So on our sheet of paper, we have the cold hard facts. So it's called the Sportster 1200S. Starting price for Vivid Black, the standard fucking Harley color, $14,999, so 15 grand. For a color option, it's $15,349. Now, if you live in California, you got to get the emissions package. That's another $200. Freight shipped to you is $390, and there's a $200 surcharge. Now, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking a $15,000 bike. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're trying to compete with the Indian FTR 1200. Now, if you don't know, that bike was supposed to be the end-all, be-all, Sportster killer, blah, 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 and it fell on its face. There were so many people that hated the bike, recalls, stuff wrong with it. I know that there was a guy on Facebook, Instagram, his name's Zach Nation. He's actually doing the Bagger Racing League. He has the famous video from probably 5 or 6 years ago where he's on the Dyna Low Rider S, carving through the canyons with the 2 sport bikes, and he actually gets in front and just absolutely dominates.
Oh, he was scraping.
Yeah, he was.
Scraping.
So he, from what I've seen and read about him, he's a track racer. So he knows how to ride, and he said that there is no, it goes back to dirt bike days. You can do all the training you want, nothing replaces seat time. The more seat time you have, the better you're gonna be. So he pre-ordered an FTR 1200, and I wanna say within like 2 months he put it for sale, and he was disgusted with the bike. So back to our things. So for 15 grand MSRP, you're getting a 3.1 gallon tank, average of 49 miles per gallon estimated. Quick basic math, if you round it to 50 and you get 3 miles, you're getting 150 a tank. Let's be honest, you're probably gonna stop every 100 on that bike, if not 125, you're pushing your luck.
110. Let's call
Yeah.
it 110 and then stop.
Yeah, because I know on my 01 Sportster I have a 3.3 gallon tank, and I could push like 140 and I was scared. So 502 pounds wet. It makes 49 foot-pounds of torque at 6,000 RPMs and 121 horse at 7,500 RPMs. The bike red lines at, I believe they said 9,500. We do get a 6-speed transmission in the Sportster now, which we've been asking for, my God.
100 years?
The other thing too is, to side note, the Sportster name has been around since 1957, so it's about 64 years old now, and to my knowledge it is the longest running Harley that really hasn't got a bunch of changes. It's stayed pretty true to its roots. So you have a 43 millimeter inverted front end, a mono rear shock. Now this is the part that really blew my mind. So let's step back. You're in the market, you're gonna buy a sport bike. It's 1250 cc's. It's 1250 cc's of torque. So this isn't going to be like a Hayabusa, or I know Honda had the CBR. They had the 1000 RR, but then the Blackbird was like a 12 or 1300 that they made for a little while, and then Yamaha had. Suzuki was the Hayabusa. Yamaha had something that was up there. Anyway, point of this is, you're getting a 1250cc liquid cooled, that's the other important thing, bike. So they've taken this motor out of the Pan America and they've detuned it and dropped it into the Sportster. Now from that aspect, you can probably, one of these companies is gonna make some kind of fuel tuner to unlock the full potential of the bike, so it is more along the lines of the Pan America.
Which, if that were true, that'd be a bad little bike, but...
Bad little bike, but so here's where my issue comes in. So $15,000, I'm getting a 43 millimeter inverted front end. I can go pick up a used CBR, Gixxer, R6. If you want to go to the 1000 class to kind of put it more compared, CBR 1000, Gixxer 1000, Yamaha R1.
You can make any inverted fork work.
Yeah. And you're getting a bike that is built for track and built for speed. So this is where my massive bitch starts. You're getting a $15,000 hybrid, in my opinion. It's not really a Sportster, it's not really the V-Rod from back in the day. It is this smishmortion of let's figure this out. So this is where the other bitch starts. You get a 4-inch gauge pod. So that's, I know my Dyna had a 5-inch gauge pod. This is all LED and electric. So it's gonna be Bluetooth. It's gonna have a speedo, gear indicator, odometer, fuel, clock, trip, outside temperature, low temperature warning, side stand to let you know it's sitting down still, tip over sensor, cruise, range. Now, it also has a Bluetooth phone connecting, which allows you to apparently do something with phone calls, do something with music, and navigation. The catch with navigation is it only works with the HD app. So, I don't know who's watching this, but we're just gonna be honest. 10 out of 10 times, one of my friends has a 15 or 16 Street Glide Special, So he has the full big entertainment system with the navigation. We were going to, I want to say it was Boston Harley, and the GPS like completely screwed up and could not. He ended up, we pulled over, he shut it off and put it on his phone, and we got there in like 2 minutes. This is a Sportster. This isn't a touring bike. I know that there's going to be people on the internet that say, oh, I can ride to Sturgis, I can ride to Cali. That's great. People do it all the time. People do it on choppers. I don't think me and you are arguing that point where you can't ride this bike distance. This is where the issue comes in. A brand new Softail standard. So you're getting a Milwaukee 8 107, which is a more time-proven engine at this point. Yes, the Milwaukee 8s have had issues. We're not going to get into that. With a 3.5 gallon tank, so 0.4 gallons more, starting at $13,599. It's less than this Sportster. Granted, you don't get the inverted front end. You're on a bigger bike though. Especially going down the highway, that's going to have its help. Now, the other quick point we want to add out there is a Lowrider S, which is a 114, I believe, 5 gallon tank. I'm pretty sure it has the inverted front end this year. This bike is, I've ridden it, it is a beautiful machine. 18 grand. Now my issue with that is for $18,000 for a little bit more money, you can go to a bagger and you can do what you have to do. So back to our bitch, our original bitch. And we talked about this on lunch today at work. You can go buy a sport bike that will go faster, is more proven, is lighter, for, I mean, we didn't look it up, but I'm gonna guess,
Fraction of the price.
let's just say you went with the color option of 15,300 or 15,349. So let's just call it 15,350. For us to get it here in Mass, you gotta add another 390. So you're at 15,650, 700, 740, 940. So it's gonna be like $16,000 to get this bike in Massachusetts from Cape Cod Harley. Now, granted, those prices are probably pretty similar for the Lowrider S, but you're getting a 114 Milwaukee 8 with a 5 gallon tank that I would, without a shadow of a doubt, you'll run cross country with. Throw a good fairing on that bike, and we haven't even talked about that yet, the fucking looks of this ugly thing. So,
They ruined the Sportster.
alright, I'm gonna go on a limb for this one. I get going with the times and shaving weight, not having the dual rear suspension. I don't think they're gonna get away from the dual rear shocks for the touring bike. It's time tested, proven. You know what, we're gonna add it into this video too. The Softail Heritage Classic, I think is what they call it. The Heritage is now listed as a touring bike. When it's not, it's a Softail platform. It's not the same as a Road King. A Road King has 2 rear shocks. The frickin' Heritage has a mono shock. Hey buddy. So, I guess the next thing with this is, I really want to hope that Harley isn't discontinuing the rest of the Sportster line. And the reason for that is because it's iconic, it holds its own, it holds its value. Unfortunately, we were saying that it's probably done for. Personally, I would have liked to see a frame redesign. If you want to drop the new Revolution 1250 into it, go for it. But give it a little bigger frame. Give it that 6-speed transmission. Give it, a really good rear end suspension with the twin rear shocks. If you can't do that and you have to go to the mono, then okay, that's understandable.
But still keep that classic
The look to
Sportster look. When you look at a Sportster, you know it's a Sportster. You look at this bike now, you don't know what the fuck it is until you get up next to it. You're gonna see that coming at you. You're not gonna know.
You just brought up a good point. So the Fat Bob, I love to hate the Fat Bob. When they first came out with those dual headlights, I was like, this is the goofiest looking bike. Now I ride a Road Glide with dual headlights.
It's different.
It's different. It is different. So the issue is with this new bike. It literally looks like the Fat Bob's little brother. That's an Irish twin. It's got the same headlight, the same front end. It just
Similar wheel setup.
yeah.
The only difference I think is the motor.
Yeah.
And the colors.
Yeah.
I think they changed the color schemes a little different, but
So
literally you put them side by side to compare, you wouldn't know which bike you're looking at because they have the same exhaust too.
yeah, they
They
do.
have the same dual exhaust that come up next to the passenger for some weird reason.
Yeah, and I don't know how that's gonna exactly work out because at least on the old bikes it came down and you get the
Yeah,
front type.
they came along the frame.
Yes.
They come down and then back up toward like where my saddlebag and my tour pack are. Like they
This
don't
general
up.
direction. So here's the other thing that I'm going to throw out there. Used bikes. You can go out and get a CBR, a Gixxer, an R6, R1, whatever class you want. Harley, I guess, is trying to gear the Sportster towards that market. Unfortunately, we've had friends that have said, oh, and everybody knows the guy, oh, my wife won't let me get a motorcycle because I'll like wreck it and kill myself or some happy horseshit with that. First of all, you won't. You gotta be safe, you gotta be smart about it. But the issue is with these bikes, I can go get a time-tested and proven bike that's going to outperform, outrun, outclass that Sportster hands down. Now, earlier we mentioned the Indian FTR 1200. No offense, Harley Davidson, good job fucking the duck on this one. You literally made a mirror image of that. I don't know if you're doing this for the flat track circuit or what possible reason. Unfortunately, you're not listening to the younger demographic. We both ride baggers. If you want to come out and give me a Sportster, that's great. I'll ride that thing back and forth to work and I'll do certain things with it. The thing is, the Sportster has always been iconic. Your grandfather, your father, your uncle, your cousin, whoever could have had.
The Davidsons. They rode these.
Yeah. You literally can go back and, yeah, they look a little different. One's an Ironhead, one's an Evo, one's 1,000 cc's, one's 1,200, one's this, but they all relatively look the same. When the Dyna first came out, some people realize this, some people don't. All Harleys have initials. Mine is an FLTRU, his is an FLTR, not something, I forget. All letters mean something. When Dynas first came out, it's called an FXD. F stands for a big twin frame and a big twin motor. X was a Sportster front end. D was the designation for Dyna. And they've made 30-something years of bikes for that. I think, no, because there was a 35th anniversary Super Glide that they did. So 35, 40 years, somewhere in there, you had Dynas going. You could have taken the Sportster platform, which would have made so many people happy, beef it up. I get guys want performance, but I'm not going to performance build a Sportster necessarily. I might make it into a drag bike, but I'm thinking
That or a chopper.
a chopper or something kind of in the
Wheels
aspect.
like even.
Right. And, hey buddy, I think part of it is they were iconic and they always looked good. They rode decent for what they were. And, you know, he and I had the conversation earlier. I've loved every Harley I've had. My Sportster, my Road King, my Dyna, my Road Glide. If I could still have a garage full of every one of those bikes that I owned, I absolutely would. However, times change, things happen. I would say if I had to rank my bikes in fun order, it's a four-way tie for first because everything did something a little different. The Sportster was great to rip back and forth to work and hit some twisties and just have a good time on. The Road King, it was a 95 Road King with a 1340 Evo. It was my first bagger and it was sweet. Like all my buddies were on Dynas, newer bikes and shit, and I had a bagger. Like I could throw shit in saddlebags. Sold both, bought my Dyna, made it a bro Dyna, club style Dyna, whatever you want to call it. and I love the hell out of it. Now I got an Ultra, and I've got the top of the line under a CVO pretty much at this point. So I guess kind of the point of this video is, Harley, no offense, you dropped the ball. If you had listened to, you know, people who ride and maybe a millennial generation, I don't know, maybe if you guys get some younger guys on board that, you know, want to see the company grow. And I saw something on Facebook or YouTube, it was a live video somebody was doing, I can't remember. And one of the comments literally said, Harley Davidson will be dead in 10 years. Personally, I hope that's not true. I don't have a Harley Davidson tattoo. I have a couple hats, quite a few t-shirts, a bunch of poker chips. However, I don't want to see the brand die. It's an American legend, just like Chevrolet, just like Ford, just like GM. It is an American institution. It has been since 1903. However, you complain about this generation not wanting to buy a motorcycle. You just made a $15,000 pile of shit that I'm not going to afford. $15,000 for a Sportster, or I can go and buy
a Softail,
a Dyna. Shit, I can go out and buy an 09 and up bagger for 12 grand. And that's not going through a dealership. That's going on Facebook, Craigslist, Chopper Exchange. There's 100 different websites, your local independent shop.
This is one of the things that, if it does ever come to a close, this will be the thing that ends Harley.
Yeah.
Because people won't buy brand new bikes anymore. They will just buy an older bike or an older bike.
And I think the big thing too that Harley, like I said before in a video, we're nobodies. Who God only knows who watches these videos. But I will say, as far as you guys unveiling this bike, I get that you're trying to capture a new demographic. Unfortunately, you're not going to. I can go to Honda. There's a local shop called Betancourt's, and this was a few years ago. It was about $8 grand for a Shadow 750. Those things run forever. Like, and nobody makes fun of you for riding a Shadow. It's like, oh, you're riding a Shadow, okay, cool. I don't know how many times I had buddies go, oh, you're riding a Skirtster, you're riding a girl's bike. Or, you know, some people knew I actually bought it from a female. Oh, you're riding a girl's bike.
I did not know that till now.
See? Here's the thing. Doesn't really matter. Harley's a Harley. And
you're riding the name, not the bike.
Right. And I'm sorry to say, I will still take a Sportster over an old, beat-up, ratty Sportster over some of these new bikes. Because it has character. It has soul. You know, you...
Well, it's iconic.
Right.
It is one of the longest... It is the longest running bike that Harley has made.
Dude, I think it is.
It 200% is. This is why they wanted to do the remake for it.
They stopped the... Well, they brought the electric eye back, but they ended it, and then they brought it back.
But, I mean...
Continuous, so 57.
It is the continuously longest running made bike.
Yeah. And I hate to say, you know, today's world that we live in, you're shitting on heritage, but...
I drive a Heritage. I fucking love a Heritage.
Oh, I know you love a Heritage, but that's not the point. Every video, that train comes by without fail.
We thought we had some time. I guess we took a little too much time, but...
Meh. So, I guess the other big heritage aspect of it too is, I'm really hoping that this is just one model that they're doing it to, and that this is going to be their kind of answer to the FTR 1200. Because I would really hate to see, they had the street, let's go back to 2000. They dropped the V-Rod in 03. That bike lasted 10 years, and you could get it for stupid cheap money now. You brought out the street 500 to 750. The 500 lived for like 2 years and then fell apart. The street 750 still exists. Sportster used to have its own category on the Harley website. Now it's under street. Like, no, fuck off. Sportster is a goddamn Sportster. Leave it be. Dyna had its own, Softail had its own. They've gotten rid of that nomenclature and it's just cruiser. And then you have touring. And touring has always been its own class. But I think Harley, if you do see this video and whatever, I'm glad you guys spent millions of dollars on this bike. I'm not gonna buy it. It's a $15,000 bike. When I go buy a sport bike that'll do 200 miles an hour, and it's meant to do it for equivocally the same money, if not go buy a used one for a lot less that's liquid cooled and proven. So to kind of wrap this up, we both watched the interview. I thought it was cool in the interview how they went to like the family's homestead in Scotland.
Their original homestead and stuff.
Yes, and they ripped around Scotland for a little bit. I have Bill Davidson, I'm assuming, I know who he is, but this Giannis dude, I have no idea who he is. I think
He's a movie star.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have no idea who the hell that guy was. And I mean, shit, like Harley, you should have brought back like Jason Momoa for this shit. Like, that dude, first of all, is like 6'6" and like 300 pounds of like beat the shit out of you Hawaiian style. He's got some awesome tattoos though. And the scar above his eye, I was reading the thing about him, it's from a bar fight.
Yeah, it's a true scar. They don't just put that on him.
No, I'm just saying, he got hit, like, I think he got hit in the head with a beer bottle. I'm like, wow, he hit. Like, how much bigger of a dude do you have to be to hit him with a beer bottle? Or are you that much of a smaller guy that you had to hit him with a beer bottle and try to knock him down?
I mean, I've been bottled. I thought it was pretty funny.
I'm good. So, point is, you guys have made this bike, you did what you did. But you should have, I feel like with Jason Momoa, at least, if you had done the twin rear suspension and put a 6th gear, sure, put your new fucking motor in it. It sounds like a goddamn sewing machine. Whatever.
The whole point is keep the classical look. You want to do some upgrades? By all means.
Yeah.
But keep the look. The look is what everybody wants.
Yeah.
This new bike isn't going to go far. If
I
it
know.
does, it'll be a miracle. But
Last point I'm going to make, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He is in the finance industry. Now, there's certain things we don't really talk about, politics, religion, and money. But he's in the finance game. And he was saying to me that Harley Davidson is a true, amazing company. They can put their name on a coffee cup and you're going to buy it. They'll put it on a t-shirt. This is not a Harley shirt, by the way.
well, you could go just worldwide.
Yeah. You can go anywhere in the world and you know that's a Harley Davidson. They've done it. However, I really don't want to say that this is the end of Harley Davidson. I hope it's not. However, if it is,
Been a hell of a run.
yeah. And I can honestly say that I'm glad I've got a twin cam 103 with the newer style frame so I can put a big ass motor in my bike. So we just kind of wanted to vent and bitch and complain because we thought we had talked about it yesterday after we shot a couple of videos, and this video is actually going to come out before the other 2 videos, but we talked about it yesterday here in the shop. This whole evolution of revolution. We knew that the Evo was probably going to die. And I just feel like Harley, you could have done a hell of a lot better job. But who the hell am I to say? So, if you can, punch the like button, punch the subscribe button, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you guys think of this new bike. What do you think of the video that Harley released? You know, I'm sure that me and you are going to have to go to probably Cape Cod, or maybe we'll ride up to High Octane when they do a demo day. Shit, yeah, I'll go rip around the
Or
bike.
maybe in Boston.
Yeah, Boston Harley.
Boston will probably be one of the first places in Mass to bring it.
Probably. Because I know a couple years ago when they dropped the FXDR, I took it for a ride and they were like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, nope, wouldn't buy it. So, like I said, drop some comments down below, let us know what you think. And until the next time, keep the rubber down and the shiny up.